Hello everybody, and welcome to my video on Amnesia Rebirth. In this video, I will be covering a timeline of events that happened in the story, and not so much the gameplay. This video will not cover the sequence of events experienced in the game, and it won't cover every detail of the timeline either. Obviously, this video should only be watched if you have played the game due to all the spoilers. And since many parts of this game include further details from the Dark Descent, I've included them just for the sake of completion. Alright, now let's start with plotting the start of the game on the timeline, which is Tazi waking up in the plane. This is a point of reference, and everything I discuss will be before this point. Now, the best place to start is the earliest point in the timeline, which is in the Otherworld. The first major event was Empress Tiana ascending to the throne after her mother Atua. It's difficult to say exactly when this happened compared to Earth's timeline, but it's believed to be at least 2,000 years ago. Tiana was born with a disease which would eventually kill her, which her mother Atua shared as well. Requiring surgery, the alchemist performed an operation on her spine with the infusion of vitae. This operation was more or less successful, and Tiana was seated as the Eternal Empress, though she did not know it yet. It was later discovered that the vitae would indeed sustain her life, but inexplicably destroyed her organs, including her womb, making her unable to bear children. Though her alchemist assured her it was not a great issue, for they could sustain her life forever with the vitae. At this point, it was understood that an endless amount of vitae was needed, and Tamaku set out to figure out how to make this a possibility. During this time, someone named Ayandra appeared seeking refuge in the city, and offered a plan for a potion that would erase someone's memories. This person is heavily implied to be Alexander from the Dark Descent, prior to his banishment. Tamaku and the other alchemists found a way to create endless and high concentrations of the vitae by finding people with particularly strong family ties and or memories. They would then torture the individuals and erase their memories with the amnesia potion, and then give them a happy memory from their life. This process would be repeated forever to sustain the Empress. Sometime later, Kita, who was apprenticed to Tamaku, secretly worked on a way to utilize the orb's destructive shadow entity as a way to bring down the Empress and destroy the factories sustaining her. One of the final things that happened in this world was Kita's fellow alchemists attempting to destroy what's referred to as a Great Gate, while his apprentice took the red flesh formula he developed to destroying the Empress's vitae lines. Attempting to destroy the Great Gate enraged the Shadow, and this caused all of Kita's alchemists to be turned into wraiths wielding their control stones, and the world they lived in to be basically destroyed, putting it into perpetual darkness as well. Not only did they fail at the gate, but Kita's apprentice never cut off the Empress's vitae supply, and as Kita said in the note, they failed in the worst of ways. So at this point, this pretty much covers everything that happened in the Otherworld prior to the start of the game. Granted, it was a very long time ago. So now we're going to head over to Earth's timeline. Sometime hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, it's hard to tell, settlers from the Otherworld arrived to Earth and built the Tomb of Teen Hanan, which housed 2 orbs and a gate. This seemed to serve more as a temple or a shrine than a tomb for obvious reasons. Fast forwarding a little bit now, up to sometime in the 1500s, Ayandra, aka Alexander, arrives to Earth due to his banishment from the Otherworld and begins his own experiments vitae trying to get home. Most of this is covered in the Dark Descent, so that's all I'm going to say for now. Now, moving all the way up to May 17th, 1839, Thurston Herbert makes a note that Daniel, from the Dark Descent, discovered an orb in the tomb of Teen Hanan, but he broke it. Herbert sends Daniel away with the orb to see if he can fix it, and Herbert and his crew continue their search for another orb. A few days later, on May 22nd, Herbert does indeed find another orb, but notes that his people are going mad, and it seems like something called the Shadow begins hunting him. With no other means of escape, Herbert activates the gate that was in the tomb and travels to the other world. Now, it's difficult to say, but due to him dying from a lack of food and water, it's safe to assume that a few days later after Herbert arrived in the other world, he died, without any way to sustain himself and no way to escape. A few months after this, on August 8th, Daniel performs the portal ritual with Alexander at the end of the Dark Descent. Getting into more modern times, in March 1929, several years before the start of the game, The fort that was occupied by French soldiers is attacked by a ghoul, and everybody in there dies from the ghoul or by suicide. Alright, now catching up to March 3rd, 1937, this is the intro scene of the game. Tazi and everyone fly into Algeria and crash somewhere in the desert. Though it should be noted that it's unknown what brought the plane down exactly. After the crash landing, the surviving members all head into a cave that's nearby. The very next day, on March 4th, Tazi and a few others leave the cave to get assistance. They find the previously occupied French fort where all the soldiers were dead, and then they head further into the desert. This is where they encounter Empress Tiana. She shows them the Traveler's Amulet and guides them to her tower in the other world. Now, the Empress offers salvation to everyone if Tazi gives her child to her, though Tazi declined and the Empress had everybody drink from the fountain, which of course caused everybody to be infected. Around this time, everyone left in the cave nearby the plane crash all die, except for Salim, who heads out to find Tazi and the others. He is, though, of course, attacked by a ghoul and eventually dies from his wounds sometime later. And now we're at the start of the game, with Tazi waking up in the plane. It's difficult to know how she got back here, but at this point she is infected and beginning her transformation into a harvester due to the Empress's trickery. And that about wraps it up for a broad timeline of events. I know this didn't quite cover all of the intricate details, but I wanted to provide a quick look for anybody confused on how this all pieced together. So thank all of you very much for watching, and please leave any comments about the game below. I'm quite interested to see what people think in general. To me, this game was pretty good and more enjoyable once you fully understand it. So recorded in her name eternal.